Any questions about schizophrenia, psychosis stuff, any of that stuff? All those things we looked at, talked about. And don't forget something. Don't forget something, you guys, that all of those symptoms we looked at and talked about, all those symptoms could be happening and have nothing to do with schizophrenia. All right? And that's another, again, differential diagnosis issue and rule-out issue. I mean, again, gang, if that stop sign becomes wobbly enough alone, don't forget that stop sign thing. Everybody know what I mean by the stop sign? And that wobbly enough by itself, we can all look pretty nuts and things like that. And so, any questions with schizophrenia stuff? And then we look at
not to actually use the word paranoid.
Well, no, paranoid is a very real word.
But you
don't use it inappropriately.
Right.
No, paranoid schizophrenia is a very real thing.
Right.
The pseudo community, the they, the them. I gotta watch out for them because they and that. No, paranoid's a very real thing.
We know it's a real
and when
thing.
it's appropriate, when you hear the pseudo community and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, and again, no, paranoid's a very real thing. It's not don't use the word paranoid. Don't use any word inappropriately.
Okay.
That kind of a thing like that. No, paranoid's a very real thing. Paranoid schizophrenia is a very real thing. The most common kind of schizophrenia is paranoid schizophrenia, which happens to be also kind of nice since it's the most treatable kind of schizophrenia. And then we talked about the mood disorders. And we looked at that whole spectrum of all those things and the issues of organic versus functional. And then the stuff of can a person look very textbook depressed and not have that. We have talked about anxiety. The anxiety disorders, including we just looked at obsessive compulsive disorder and things like that. And don't, you know, gang, the anxiety disorders in general, everybody has anxiety. I mean, you know, and we treat nowadays, we treat anxiety like sometimes the greatest scourge of the human experience. Oh my God, I got anxiety, I got to take a pill, I can't do this, I got whatever, how do I make it? Gang, anxiety is not a disease. Anxiety is a survival mechanism. Anxiety is technically what? Your body reacting to the perception of danger. You kick in fight or flight and all of the changes. And we're going to be talking about the general adaptation syndrome. This, you know, a guy by the name of Hans Selye. Guy by the name of Hans Selye. This is a very important. You guys are going to get one of the most important things right now. Understanding as a counselor, recovery. Guy by the name of Hans Selye got to look in. I mean, after World War II and longitudinal studies and all this kind of stuff in the 1960s, early 1960s, a new person became a major person in everybody's life. Who was that? The Surgeon General. The Surgeon General. They've been looking at all these longitudinal studies and everything. Who's getting sick, who's this, who's that, and all this other stuff. The Surgeon General, of course, all of a sudden, cigarette smoking and eating hot dogs and this and that. And among all those other things, stress kills. And that kind of, learn to avoid stress. All these corporate, everybody, all these stress management programs start to pop up. Biofeedback training, all this stuff, stress kills. And it was almost like the idea was that we were telling everybody you got to figure out how to never have stress in your life. Gang, that's impossible. Stress is what? Stress is when something gets worked, used enough time. You take a piece of metal, you go like this, everything, you're stressing that and that. It comes, at some point it breaks. That kind of a thing. You see what I'm saying with that? Stress, anxiety. Anxiety is not a disease, it's a survival mechanism. It's your body telling you got a problem here. If you didn't know you had a problem, how would you know what you got to do about it? You see what I'm saying with that? Too much anxiety, like anything. I mean, guys, if you eat too much broccoli, it's going to be toxic at some point. You see what I'm saying? I mean, that's one of the best things you can put in your body is broccoli. For crying out loud, you eat too much broccoli, it's going to be toxic. Too much of anything. A guy by the name of Hans Selye then develops what becomes known as the general adaptation syndrome. And it looks like this. First of all, this is this line right here, normal stress. life is stress. I mean, every time your heart beats, it's a little bit more tired than it was before it beat that next time. Every time. Every organ in your body is doing stuff. Everything. Just being alive is stressful. We have a normal level of stress. However, physiologically, the way we're put together, we ought to be living to about 120. The way our bodies are put together and the way this works and everything else, under that, we ought to be living a hell of a lot longer. What is it? I mean, somebody's 75, 76, and we're making a great big deal about that, or something like that sometimes. Somebody makes 90s, that's, oh my God, there was a guy that had a big thing, and the guy turned 100. Wow, that kind of a thing. And then this whole idea about stress kills, stress harms, and that. And guys, what is that all about? Well, the fact is that we have this normal level of stress. And then Saley breaks this down. And Saley's model was designed to help us understand why at some point stress does become harmful. Do you see what I'm saying? In the beginning, what is stress? It's the activation of your sympathetic division of the autonomic nervous system in a way to mobilize all the energy in the body in a way that you can do what you need to do to get your ass away from that tiger right now. Does that make sense? That's what stress is. All those things that happen in a way that, hey, increased heart rate, increased breathing, what? Get that oxygen to the brain, get that oxygen to the muscles right now. All those kinds of things like that. Hey, thinking shuts down. You're not going to talk that tiger out of this attack. You're going to have to beat that tiger somehow or another. All those kinds of things like that. All these things, all this stuff. Hey, the gut shuts down. Basically, why worry about digesting food if you're going to become a bologna sandwich to the tiger in a couple of minutes? Use that energy when you need it. All that kind of stuff like that. And that's that stress response. And Saley develops this model as a way to help us understand why at some point that stress does result in some pretty serious physiological anomaly, disorders, things like that. How can we get sick from too much stress? He breaks this into 3 sections. The alarm stage, A, the alarm, and then B is the resistance, and then C is the exhaustion stage. And now we have, just being alive is stressful. Our body's working. Every time your heart beats, it's a little bit more tired than it was before it beat. Does that make sense? That kind of a thing like that. But just being alive is stressful. And then with this whole stress kills, manage your stress, and the people almost got this message that they got to make stress go away. That somehow or another they're going to lead a stress-free life. Which became, in and of itself, very what? Stressful. You're not going to succeed at that. You're not going to lead a stress-free life because just being alive is stressful. I'm going to draw a line down here. This line right here we'll call the absolutely no stress line. What's another name for that line?
Dead.
Dead. Yeah. All right, dead. And then this model goes along. Here we are going along our daily life. And then right here, a tiger happens. Whether it's a real tiger or we humans' ability to conjure tigers by the way we think about things. Why are you looking at me that way? Oh my God, this is happening. Oh, this is the worst possible. Oh, poor me, this is terrible. This is, oh, I can't stand. Oh, no. And gang, once that brain perceives that tiger, what happens? First, our stress resistance goes down, and then it goes super up. Gang, what is this right here? This is going up like that. Now we've departed from normal level to, now that stress resistance going sky high, what do we call that?
Bell.
Fight, flight.
Something.
That's that fight, flight response. And the whole idea with this is then, with now this activation, we've got all this energy going. Now we use that energy to solve the problem. Kill the tiger. Get away from the tiger. Deal with whatever it is. That sympathetic division of the autonomic nervous system kicking in that fight or flight. We solve the problem, and ideally then, the parasympathetic division then brings that back down to where it belongs. You see what I'm saying with that? But an individual whether it's real. Can a person be in the middle of a life situation where it really is that really stressful all the time?
Yes.
One major problem. Can it be? Yes. But then on top of that, you guys, we are tiger makers. And we take life, no matter. And life can be a pain. Life can be a disappointment. Life can be a son of a bitch. But whatever it is, we take it. And by the way we think about it, we make it even worse and worse and worse. For me, this is awful. I can't stand this. Oh no. That kind of a thing. Whatever it is. And instead of solving the problems, this person living in this constant. In other words, they never solve the problem, which means that at some point, they have a new level of stress resistance. Now the problem with this is fight or flight. That fight or flight response is very, very, very expensive. It demands enormous amounts of metabolic energy. Fight or flight involves every cell, system, organ in your body. Everything. Once again, all these things. Heart rate, blood pressure, shut down the gut, do that, all this stuff, all the chemical change. And we're going to look at a lot of that. We're going to look at this more again next semester when we get inside the brain and that kind of a thing. But it's a very, very, very expensive thing to do. And it wears stuff out fast. I mean, like this versus like this. You see what I'm saying? That kind of a thing. Now, if there's a real tiger here, well, maybe we're going to have to dip into our stress energy savings account to deal with the real tiger, because if we don't deal with the tiger, well, then nothing matters anymore anyway. We're dead. But the whole idea is then that we get that back down where it belongs. Okay, we dealt with the tiger, and now let's get it back down. But if we're constant, all the time stressed, we stay at this heightened level of stress resistance. And that body starts to get tired. Those organ systems. And the next thing you know, what are we? We're having migraine headaches. We're having high blood pressure. We're having this. We're having that. All this stuff. We're having ulcer. We're having all these things. Where this body working too hard and too long, at some point, it wears out. It gets tired. And it's kind of like this. We then move from resistance to the last stage, exhaustion. And it's kind of like in the exhaustion stage, the body says, you know what, if you're not going to bring this down, I will. And those diseases start to bring that down. And again, if we don't do something now to interfere with this process, the body doesn't want to stop. It'll go all the way down to here. And what is this? Dead. You see what I'm saying? And again, heart disease and again, strokes and all kinds of things like that. Now here, this is how Saley would explain how and why stress basically causes all these physiological problems and can be very bad. And that's right. Problem is, when people heard that, they thought complete no stress. Well, the only way you're going to have that is this. So that's not going to work. What we need to do is learn how to manage well this stuff. For you drug counselors, I want you to hear this very clear. I grieve for our colleagues not here today. I grieve for their clients that they're not hearing this right now. At some level, I mean, gang, this isn't magic. This is just chemistry. This is just chemistry. It's body chemistry. Gang, don't forget, drugs aren't magic. We talked about that. Cocaine doesn't make you high. What makes you high? What cocaine does to your body chemistry. Does that make sense? And it's the same thing. This is just body chemistry. And at some point, if you stay at this heightened level long enough, pretty soon, guess what? And it may not stay, it may be more like this instead of like this. At some point, this starts to feel normal. You understand what I'm saying with that? It's almost like, at some point, if you get it back down this way, that starts to feel bad. Because you take on a new level of feeling normal up here. Does that make sense? And gang, think about addiction every day. We talked about that, the caveman story. Remember that? Every day is an ongoing struggle, unpredictable, dangerous struggle for survival. That's going to be very stressful. This person in addiction is living up here. And at some point, this starts to feel normal to that person. You see what I'm saying? And then they get arrested, or they have a failing intervention, or they finally hit their bottom, or whatever it is that made them decide, I got to quit this and everything else. And they go to their AA meeting, they do this, they do that, and everybody says, hey, welcome back to life. Get back down here where you belong. And down there now, for that person, feels very bad. They were clear up here. This is where they're used. And now coming back down. Gang, you're going to hear as a counselor one day, and that client that relapsed, and you're going to hear from that client, and you're going to say, why? What happened? And that client's going to look at you and say, I was bored. Mm-hmm. And you're going to look at that client and say, you're fucking what? What are you fucking, do I have stupid written on my forehead? Wait, you were bored? You ruined everything because you were bored? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Guess what, gang? They're probably telling you the truth. This now, yeah, oh, this is all wonderful. Let's all sing Kumbaya and come back down here. This doesn't feel good to that client anymore. They're used to up here. You see what I'm saying? And coming back down here feels weird, foreign, boring. Yeah. Why did you relapse? I was bored. And you're going to want to. There's going to be something inside you. You're going to want to tear into that person and say, what the fuck you mean you were bored? You fucking went because you were bored? Don't you do that, you guys. Don't you do that. The client probably telling you the truth. They were bored. As a matter of fact, they get down. They're going to be craving getting back up here. What's one real convenient way to get back up there? Relapse. Do you see what I'm saying? You guys have to be aware of this. This is another one of those essential counseling 101. You have to be aware of that person's new activation arousal levels and where they're at. And guys, it may be that this client never gets back down here. What one of your jobs is going to, first of all, don't denigrate this. Help them where will be a new, now healthier middle ground for that person. Do you see what I'm saying? And counselors who don't know this, appreciate this, and understand this. They're going to demand. It's kind of like, why don't you want to get better? I do want to get better. Then why get normal? Come back down here with us. You see what I'm saying? That's just stressful. This person, you're up here long enough. Coming back all the way down here isn't going to be very well. No, there's no universal rule for anything or anybody. But do you see how that can be dangerous with that? And so, part of your job is assess where are they, and maybe, no, don't make them come back down here. That may never happen. What's one of the best ways to get back up here for our clients? Relapse. Do crazy shit. And then we get to get all pissed off at them and tell them, and all, you see what I'm saying? You're going to see that person. You're going to see that person. They're doing the damnedest, silliest of things. I mean, somehow you're going to see this person. Somehow or another, they had figured out there in the streets in their addiction how to get 30 or 40 or more pills a day. Controlled pills. Not just for one Friday night party. No, every day. You realize what kind of talented skill you need to pull that off? These are not stupid people. And here they are in recovery, and all of a sudden, in this recovery, and they're doing the damnedest, stupidest things. It's almost like, and this is where that counselor may want to say to them, oh, you're afraid of success. First of all, don't you ever say that to a client. This is where, oh, you're your own worst enemy. Oh, you're just full of shit, you're just trying to find. No, gang, what are they doing? They're trying to. What's another nice way to get back up here is piss everybody off and get into big fights and stuff. Whatever it takes to get back up here. And if you don't understand this, as a counselor, you're going to just be the next person in line waiting to slap them in the face because they're a big dumbass. You see what I'm saying? Don't you dare do that. You've got to understand this. You see what I'm saying with this? Now, you didn't read about this in your psychology book, did you? This is why you need to be in class, you guys. This is why you've got to be in class if you're going to get this stuff. And I grieve for the clients of the people who are not in class today because their client is not going to benefit from them knowing this. Does that make sense? Does everybody see how damn important this is? You have to assess this. And maybe this is what, and then what do? Help that person learn how to manage themselves there. Boy, counseling is a hell of a lot more than you thought it was going to be, isn't it? You see what I'm saying with this? Does everybody get this? Yes, question.
Can we use this as far as with the MISA? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
if a person went through a traumatic event like 9/11, and that person was normal at first, he really had too much stress, but then when this happened, all of a sudden he's having memories, he's having thoughts, he can't control himself, he needs to see a mental health
any of that stuff,
professional.
anything that is stressful.
Right, and then he started using to try to deal with the vivid dreams he keeps having.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, and what I'm saying is, whenever they're using the drug, once they're up here, if they stay up here long enough, this becomes an issue in and of itself. And yeah, oh, welcome to recovery. Come back down here and be happy about it. Well, they're not happy about it. And they're going to find ways to get back up here, doing the damnedest, stupidest things you ever saw. Just outright relapsing. Just, I mean, you know, it's kind of like a kid. You're sitting there. You know, it's one thing that you try and sneak around, but you're doing this right. But that's almost like an insult. This is so obvious. You see, and you see what I'm saying? Now I got caught. Now you're mad at, boy, I get to come up this. You see what I'm saying with this stuff, you guys? And those clients, they'll do some of the damnedest things you ever saw. And this is where you've got to understand what the hell's going on here. Do you see the difference between this and an idiot counselor? You see what I'm saying with this stuff? This is so important. Well, the anxiety spectrum. And again, anxiety, which is not a disease in and of itself. Gang, this activation arousal thing, this is so very, very, very important. Do you understand what I'm saying with this? This is a make it or break it. Are you going to be a helpful agent? Or are you going to fuck somebody up? Part of basic counseling right here. Understanding, appreciating this right here. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Does everybody see that? Those kinds of things. I want to go down to the somatoform. Somatoform disorders. And, well, I guess I got to clean up my stress thing, don't I? Any other questions? Do you guys get this?
What was the name of the person who...
Staley, Hans Staley, the general adaptation syndrome. Now, Staley didn't talk about what I just talked about, this implication for addiction and recovery. Staley, that's just the model he developed as a way to help understand why stress makes us sick sometimes. Somato. What is somato? Body form disorders. Hypochondriasis, you guys, is one of the most misunderstood and misaddressed issues in all of addiction and recovery. Hypochondriasis. And you know what the, oh, let me do this. I'm going to bring the screen back down. I just wanted it for that. Hypochondriasis. You guys all know, do you know that person? That hypochondriac. They can't watch the doctor's show on Thursday night. By Friday morning, they're dying of all the same symptoms and diseases. This is the part, what do you think this is? I think I'm dying. What do you think? You know what I'm talking about? And we call them that hypochondriac. Right? That hypochondriac. Gang. You gotta be careful. That's kind of a misnomer there. Hypochondriasis. What I call that is the eternal search for non-solution. I mean, can a person, the eternal search for non-solution, hypochondriasis, can a person have a germ phobia, a cancer phobia, a I'm dying phobia, that kind of a thing? You see what I'm saying? Well, what do you think of that? But when they go to the doctor, that person, if they have a genuine phobia, they go to the doctor, and the doctor does the test and does this or that, and the doctor says, we did the test, you're fine, don't worry about it, you're okay. They're going to what? Oh, thank you, doctor, oh, you're the greatest, oh, thank you so very much, thank you, you're the best. They may be back tomorrow with another new thing they're dying of, but they're going to want to hear the good news, aren't they? Oh, thank you, doctor. Thank you so much. I really thought this was it. Thank you, doctor. But with hypochondriasis, when the doctor says you're okay, what does the patient say?
You're wrong.
Full of shit. You're crazy, you're a quack, you don't care. This is the difference. Yeah, there are people, then they're completely, upset with, oh my God. But when the doctor tells them they're okay, it's, oh, thank you, doctor. Oh my God, thank you. Oh God, I thought this was it. But with hypochondriasis, when the doctor says you're okay, they say you're full of shit, you don't know, you don't care. It's this eternal search for non-solution. What this is a very, very complex obsessive compulsive disorder. Again, different people find different, don't step on the cracks, counting, watching out for this, arranging things. We talked about obsessive compulsive. What is that? Where? That individual. What do? They've got all this dread, stress, and all that, and they find something that makes it go away for just a little bit. They do it again, it goes away, that kind of a thing. This is a very complex obsessive compulsive disorder. And this person, whatever they're worried about, and again, and they're probably sky high and all that stuff. And this person is the person that has learned the best way to divert, use up all that worry energy is to find something specific to worry about. I know, my health. Do you see what I'm saying? This person, they're using all that energy. I mean, it takes a lot of energy to be constantly worried. I'm dying of this, I got that, I'm dying of this. Oh no, did you see that on TV? I got that too, and all that stuff. You see what I'm saying? And this person, this is their way of using up all that worry energy. They don't know what it is. Does that make sense? And they'll go to great, and that's why, once again, why, if the doctor says you're okay, why is that bad news for the hypochondriasis patient? The doctor just undermines their way of dealing with their energy. You see, you just ruined my game. If I'm okay, I don't get to worry about this anymore, which means now I got to worry about the shit I don't want to worry about. You see what I'm saying? It's a way to worry about stuff other than what you don't want to worry about. And the hypochondriac patient, what have they done? They've just zeroed in on health. So when the doctor says you're okay, they just ruined my way of dealing with that. Does that make sense? And so, no, you're full of shit. You don't know, you don't care. I'm going to tell you a story real quick. This woman, 39-year-old woman, and these are all true stories, you guys. Hypochondriasis, 39-year-old woman, and she is not an unattractive woman. It's not that, and everything, but her life just wasn't even close to where she thought it was going to be by the time she turned 39, and that kind of a thing. She was she was single. She was divorced twice. She hated her job. Her kids just weren't. The family stuff just wasn't working good. One of the kids was in trouble, this and that. Her life just wasn't going well at all. You see what I'm saying? And she's single and this and that. Or she hates the house she lives in. All this stuff. And then there was another thing. For her, she got it in her head. Somehow or another, this 39-year-old, her life is just not even close to the way she wants it to be. Got it in her head that 40 was the magic number. Somehow or another, when you turn 40, that's the end of youthful opportunity and beauty. You see what I'm saying? 40. She's 39. Her life sucks. And her problem is that when you turn 40, for some reason, that was the magic number. I don't know where she got it from. But that's it. The game's over. 40, that's the end of youthful opportunity, youthful beauty. Whatever you got, you're stuck with it now. Good luck. Enjoy yourself. She's about to turn 40. And she's becoming more and more and more with it. And more and more. And just she's becoming obsessed with this. And she's becoming desperate with this and everything else. 40 is the end. Game over at 40. That kind of. She's 39. And she's going to turn 40. She even starts to put her affairs into order. She goes and she decides to have a complete. Because she hated her job and she planned to quit her job and find a different job. And that meant, there goes her insurance. She decides that before she quits, she's going to go have a complete physical. The whole 9 yards, everything she could. And of course, one of the things they did was a pap smear, and this is where this story really begins. The pap smear comes back, it's a false positive. Now, that was it. That was it for her. They even, right away they checked it again. It was negative. They checked it a third time. It was still negative. They looked, they didn't. And but that one false positive is all it took. She's dying of cancer. And that was it. Do you see what I'm saying with this? And she ran with it. There was nothing. First negative. They did this, they did that. She started, and then pretty soon, it wasn't just her reproductive system, every cell in her body. Cancer, 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 this cancer, that cancer. She's dying. She called herself Dead Man Walking. And all this other stuff. And it just got crazier and crazier. Long story short, before it was over with, they were about to do shock therapy on her kids, and everybody in her life, her parents, everybody had it with her. The doctor had her on such high levels of Ativan and Xanax, both. She was addicted to both of those. She's now starting to drink copiously. Her life is falling to pieces. They probably, the cancer center out here north of town, I'll bet they've had a picture of her on the front door. Do not allow this woman back in here. They were driving her nuts and everything else. And then she was. And it got to the point. You're the doctor telling me that I'm okay. You know what? I know damn well. And you're full of shit and you don't care. And by the way, you're just telling me that so you can protect your friend doctor here who told me I was okay because she was wrong and you're just covering for her ass. You see what I'm saying with this? You see what I'm saying with this? And it got to that point. It got to the point where shock therapy. And that's when, I don't know how come, but that's when those kinds of situations end up in my office. Gang, it didn't take long. You remember the Lyme disease story? Again, some of these things that end up in my office. It's like just before they're about ready to destroy somebody's life, they decide to send them to me. I don't know what that is. But it didn't take long. What was this? Hypochondriasis. Listen to this. It was easier for this woman to believe and deal with dying of cancer than it was deal with turning 40. You see what I'm saying with that? Don't forget, at 40, her life is over. And everything's done. And she's terrified of that. All of that. And the way that one false positive is all she needed. That was her ticket. And off she went. It was easier for her to believe she was dying of cancer than deal with turning 40.
So 40 became her tiger, and dying of cancer was her negative reinforcement?
Well, in a way, because the thing that terrified her was turning 40. Single. Her life's a mess. And 40's it. After you turn 40, life's over, game's over. See what I'm saying? And she was terrified of that. And what did she do? That false positive, she directed all that energy into the cancer thing. It was easier for this woman to believe she was dying of cancer than to deal with turning 40. Does that make sense? That's hypochondriasis. You understand what I'm saying? That's what that is.
It kind of makes sense, but if you're dead at 40 anyways, why had the hype about the cancer if you're going to die at 40 anyways?
Because she didn't want it. It was.
She needed a reason?
It was the psychological. I'm going to be ugly. I'm going to be single. All this stuff that was scaring the hell out of her and haunting her.
But still living.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
If you don't
Gotcha.
die at 40, your life
Okay.
just goes to shit.
In other words,
Gotcha.
for her 40
Okay.
was after 40. You didn't get there at 40. You're done.
You're done. Okay.
So
you live in this
So she's going to die
hell
an
the rest of
ugly
your
old
life.
hag.
Gotcha. Okay.
And it was easier for her to believe she was dying of cancer than deal with turning 40.
Right. Okay.
You see what I'm saying with that? That kind of thing. And you'll see this stuff. And gang, the thing is that this is a big part of a lot of. And very often, the energy. Will you find you got something that is scaring you, feeling so bad, this and that, whether they're once and twos memories or anything like that, or any of that, whatever it is, and that becomes so, again, overwhelming and harsh and ugly. You find something else to worry about instead. You see what I'm saying?
What did you do?
I listened to her.
Right, I know that part, but how did you help her cope with turning 40? Because inevitably she was going to turn 40.
Yeah, well, that was a whole different. First of all, we had to get her done dying of cancer.
Right.
And again, now we also have what? She was addicted to. Actually, she was really abusing alcohol, and she's got Ativan and Xanax that her doctors got her on because they were tired of her ass. You know, I'm tired of just take some more of this and fucking leave me alone. That kind of a thing. And all that. And so, once I helped her understand what this really was and what it was all about, and then we had to do some detox and stuff.
So they end up in your office because they're addicted, because nobody else wants to deal with them, because they don't have the knowledge to know what's really going on. That's why they end up in your office.
Yeah.
No.
And then you see this because you know you're not a moron counselor.
And then once we got her, we got her detox and stuff. I got her that, and then the next step is that I did what we'll be talking about in semester 3, cognitive restructuring psychotherapy.
No offense or anything, but like, why did she listen to you?
Because I
Like-
listened to her.
Empathy bond.
The empathy bond.
Oh, okay. Because like all these doctors are telling her like, no, you don't have cancer, and she's like, fucking idiot. Why, when she sat down
Because
with you,
I
was she not
listened
like
to
fucking
her.
idiot?
I
Okay.
listened to her. That's why. The empathy bond.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
How old was she when after the detox and all that?
She had turned 40, and actually she was about ready to turn 41 because this unfolded over our course of time and stuff like that. We did get her. I got her put back together. I still get thank you notes, and she's a very successful now with her master's degree. She lives in Florida, and I still get thank you letters.
Nice.
Her life is just about over with this. Why? Because somebody didn't sit down, shut up long enough to see what was really going on here. Do you see the difference with this, you guys?
Did she learn to live at 40 single?
Yeah.
Or did she not married, nothing?
No, she's not. As a matter of fact, she's very happy. And like, she did get back, she did this, did
Yeah.
that. It's kind of like the car accident girl. It's kind of like the Lyme disease guy.
Yeah.
What was the difference? I listened
Right.
from that bond. You see this, guys? So you gotta be your clients.
What do you do though if in that situation they're like, you need to go see the counselor, and that person's gonna be like, counselor's not gonna fucking fit. Like, you're gonna run into the people who are going to be resistant to that no matter what, right? Because if I've got cancer, I don't care how good of a counselor you are, you're not gonna fix that.
Right. No, but she didn't have cancer.
I know, but as far as she was concerned, she did.
Right. And so, but she also, and I think one of the things that she finally agreed because somebody said go see Kelts, and I think the shock therapy
Scared her?
scared her enough. Let me check this out.
All right, one final hurrah before they fry her brain.
But yeah, huh?
Well, I mean, like, because I can't help it, and you see it a lot with the personality disorders. Like, as far as they're concerned, there's nothing wrong with them, and
Right.
it's everyone else.
Right.
So they're going to be resistant to sitting down with the hippie counselor in town.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So basically, she kind of got strong-armed into it before
Well,
someone
not
fried her
strong-armed
brain.
into it. She got scared into it, and she decided to herself, and she got that referral. But once again, the difference is, from the very first second, how do you convey yourself as a person? And what was that? They need to feel felt, and they need to feel felt from the very start. And it's how you convey yourself with that.
And she felt
That's-
all that would work that
Yeah, had she not feel felt very, very quickly there, yeah, I was going to be just another asshole that's telling her she's okay when she's, no. Why did she listen to me? Because I listened to her.
But I can see why she would take the referral too, because she's so, I have cancer, I'm dying. This might be the guy that confirms it. Yeah, you do have cancer, you're
And that
dying.
may have been part of it too.
You
but-
know?
But anyway, and the point is, now I want to take this a step further. This word you're not going to see in the book because it's one of my conceptual neologisms. In other words, your teacher, your lunatic professor, and I talk about psychochondriasis. Do you know the person? They get it up their ass that they got some psychological, interpersonal, mental, emotional problem, and they start to join the group. They go to the book. They do this. They do that. They do that. They become, again, what is it? They're not happy unless they're not happy about something, and they got this, and they got to find out. And they get consumed with, hypochondriasis is about a physical ailment. I talk about psychochondriasis. I got a mental problem. I got an emotional problem. I got a this. I got a that. I've got all these. I've got to find a counselor. And it's the same thing. It's that eternal search for non-solution. And guys, this is when we get into start to talk about risks to early recovery. Psychochondriasis is a big one. Not so much early, but middle recovery. Think about this for a minute. That individual. Their life was a complete train wreck. They were a mess, this, that, all this stuff going on. They can't, and now they've got themselves a period of time of relative calm, recovery. They're doing pretty good. And what happens? Whether it's because somebody puts this idea in their head or they just get to thinking about it, but at some point they're thinking to themselves, my God, this is pretty good. I love this. This is great. Life's good. I'm doing it. And they get to, what the fuck was I thinking? How did I let myself get to that point in the first place? You hear what I'm saying with this? This is dangerous for this client. You guys are hearing things no other counselor out there is going to hear right now. This is going to be, they get to that person. They've got some time under their belt. They're loving it. It's good. And then sometimes somebody else puts it in their head, sometimes they just get to thinking about it. Maybe they go to that damn stupid, most dangerous place in the world called the self-help section of a bookstore. That kind of a thing. And they get to thinking, oh, this is so great. What was I thinking? What was wrong with me that I let myself get into that kind of a mess in my life in the first place? Look at the stupid shit I did. Look at that. You see what I'm saying with that? And that can morph into then it's almost like they've got to find a mental disorder to explain why. Let me finish.
Yep.
They've got to hear this out first before you ask your question. It's like they've got to find a mental disorder they can use to explain to themselves why they did this. And what was I thinking? How could I have done the things I did? They're talking about their addiction. You see what I'm saying? And they got to find why. Because if they don't find it and figure out how come it's fixed now, that may mean what?
They'll do it again.
It can come back. And it scares the daylights out of that person. Does that make sense? And they go on this again, this eternal search for non-solutions. And it's, oh no, you're okay. And sometimes you've got to be very careful that they need a mental disorder right now to explain to them why they did all that crazy shit in the first place. Not today. No, today things are good. I love this. Recovery's great. How did I ever do that in the first place? Does that make sense, you guys? Mm-hmm. Who understands addiction, recovery, and human behavior a little bit better right now than they did at 8 o'clock this morning? Do you hear what I'm saying with this stuff? Now your question.
I was going to say, if you encounter someone like that, wouldn't that be the good time to introduce to them the hedonic calculus and explain why you are the way you are?
Slam.
And, okay.
Grand slam.
So
Yes.
she felt that what she was going through wasn't worth the shock therapy. She wanted another.
With that one, but with our clients, we're going to see this psychochondria. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
How could I have done that shit? How could I have been so stupid? Look at the things I did.
Yep.
And it's kind of like, gang, and then, don't forget, because the system reinforces, you're never going to get better, and any day you're just all that stuff, right? So that person's already walking on eggshells. And they're sitting there. How could this have happened? How did I do this? How could I have done this? And what was wrong with me? What the hell was wrong with me? And then they get on this quest. They got to find something wrong. That can become so stressful. And what's the problem? Now all the energy they should be putting into recovery gets channeled into finding their disorder.
Yep.
Do you hear what I'm saying with that? And they're so afraid. Why do they need to find their disorder? Because if they don't find the disorder and have control over it, it may come back. And oh my God, I don't want to be like that again. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Do you hear what I'm saying with that? You guys, who's a better counselor now than they were at 8 o'clock this morning? You got to get this stuff. Gang, counseling is a hell of a lot more complicated than you thought it was going to be, isn't it? You never heard any of this shit before in any psychology class or anything else, have you? That's why we think we're big shots at 20% success. That activation arousal thing today. Psychochondria. 2 things today. Nuts, bolts, basically, whether or not you're going to help somebody or be another mistake in their life. You understand both of those things. That activation arousal thing, understand that, and this thing about psychochondriasis. And you'll have fortunate clients. Does that make sense? Very cool? Well, we didn't get to do open line Friday after all because I did want to make sure and cover this. Well, guys, you're better counselors now than you were at 8 o'clock this morning. If you walk out of here and make you try doing work. What do I want to hear about on that summary paper? This kind of stuff. And how you're going to use it. You see what I'm saying? Very cool?
Where does Munchausen's fall in?
I was thinking that too.
I know.
Munchausen,
I was thinking that.
Munchausen is very, very weird. It's also, though, it is basically an obsessive compulsive disorder. Where instead of worrying about myself, I get to worry about my kid. The only problem is, in order to worry about my kid being sick, my kid's got to be sick. Which means, if they're not sick, I got to figure out a way to make them sick.
So Munchausen's and Munchausen's by proxy would fall under the anxiety disorders?
No, it wouldn't. It's by itself. But what it basically is a very complex obsessive compulsive disorder.
But then there's a reward system too, because that mother or
Look at me, I'm a
parental
hero.
figure, yeah.
And again, what is it?
I'm getting all the attention.
And it's channeling all that energy I'm afraid of into something
Yeah.
else. Now instead of worrying about my own health, I get to worry about my kids. Now I
Yep.
get to be a hero parent on top of it.
Yep.
The only problem is,
If you're killing
I
your
can't
kid.
worry about my kid being sick unless my kid's sick.
Right.
Which means I may have to make my kid sick.
And it doesn't fall into any of these
Yeah, it does.
classifications?
Huh? Yeah, anxiety and, again, obsessive compulsive disorder.
Okay.
You could call it, if you
Does
wanted
it
to,
teeter
a
on
projected
psychotic?
hypochondriasis.
Like,
Okay, so kind of a somatoform.
well, I guess
Yeah.
psychotic is.
But instead of yourself, you're projecting on the kid. Sure. That's what Munchausen is. Hey, you
I'm so
guys,
glad you said that.
have a fantastic. Don't forget, you got your quiz, and then
Oh.
we'll just,
What quiz?
Question. The paper, the summary paper for the second final, how many pages?
as many as it takes to accomplish your task.
Gotcha.
I mean, and I'm not going to sit there. No, you don't.
I can't
I'm not
handle
looking
that.
at 10, 20, 30, 40. I mean, but let's say you turn in a 3/4 of one page. I'm going to wonder if you're taking this serious.
Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying? So what it takes for you to accomplish your task.
So we all need to get together and agree
Hey,
on a
gang,
number.
bring your assessment handouts with you. We're going to start that on Monday.
So I like your phrase for words I made up. What did you call that? Your own
Conceptual
version?
neologism.
Conceptual neologism.
Yeah, your teacher is a lunatic, you know.
No, I would have used that because I make shit up all the time.
There you go.
And it'll make me sound a lot smarter. My conceptual neologism, what that is.